There's a group of foreigners quietly moving into the Philippines right now. And before you click off, thinking this is just another foreigner rant video, no. Sit down. This one is different. These aren't your typical expats retiring in Boracay or teaching English somewhere in Cebu. These are Israelis, thousands of them. And they're not here just for the beaches. They're here because back home, Israel is in the middle of a war. The economy is under pressure. Reservists are being called up. Young people are burnt out. And the Philippines, with its cheap cost of living, visa-free entry, friendly locals, and affordable everything, has quietly become one of their top escape destinations. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some Filipinos are welcoming them. Others are starting to get frustrated. And when you actually hear the stories coming out of Palawan, Siargao, and parts of Manila right now, you're going to understand exactly why this conversation is blowing up online. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the full picture. The good side, the bad side, and the part that nobody in mainstream media wants to touch. So let's start with the why. Because nothing happens without a reason. Israel right now is going through one of the most stressful periods in its modern history. The conflict that escalated in late 2023 didn't just create a military crisis. It created a social and economic one too. Tel Aviv is already one of the most expensive cities on the planet. Rent alone can swallow your entire salary. Add war anxiety on top of that, reserve duty call-ups, political tension, and a lot of young Israelis, especially the remote workers, the freelancers, the tech guys. They looked around and quietly asked themselves, "Why am I still here?" So they left. And they needed somewhere that was affordable, English-friendly, easy to enter, and warm. Literally and figuratively. Thailand used to be the go-to, but Thailand got expensive and complicated. India is spiritual, but not exactly easy for long-term stays. Georgia became popular, but it's cold and far. And then someone in a Tel Aviv Facebook group said, "Have you guys tried the Philippines?" And that was it. Word spread fast in Israeli communities online. Within months, you had dozens, then hundreds, then thousands making their way to the archipelago. Now on paper, this sounds fine. Tourism is good for the Philippines. Foreign money coming in, people renting apartments, eating at local restaurants, hiring services. The Philippine government has been trying to attract more high-spending tourists for years. So what's the problem? Here's where it starts to get complicated. The first thing Filipinos started noticing, especially in hotspot areas like El Nido, Siargao, and BGC in Manila, is that some of these Israeli visitors don't behave like typical tourists. They're not here for 2 weeks and gone. They set up, they stay. They negotiate aggressively on rent. They bring their own social circles and sometimes barely interact with locals at all. Now, to be fair, this isn't every Israeli. Not even close. There are plenty of Israeli visitors who are respectful, generous, and genuinely in love with Filipino culture. Some have even started businesses, hired Filipino staff, and integrated well into local communities. But online, and this is important, the complaints are getting louder. Filipino Facebook groups, Reddit threads, TikTok comments, people are sharing stories. A landlord in Palawan saying a group refused to pay the agreed rent after moving in. A resort owner in Siargao saying guests became aggressive when rules were enforced. Local vendors saying some haggles past the point of respect, treating Filipino sellers like they're running a flea market rather than a livelihood. And look, haggling happens everywhere. Foreigners all over the world do it. But there's a cultural line in the Philippines. Filipinos are non-confrontational by nature. They smile, even when they're uncomfortable. And some visitors, not just Israelis, but this wave has been particularly noticed. Take that softness as an invitation to push harder. One story that went viral in Filipino Facebook groups involved a rental property in El Nido. A group of Israeli guests allegedly trashed the unit, argued with the owner about the damage deposit, and left without settling. The owner posted about it, and the comments exploded, with Filipinos sharing similar experiences and with others defending that it's unfair to generalize an entire nationality. And that debate, that exact tension, is what makes this topic so complicated. Because here's the truth that both sides need to hear. On one hand, Filipinos have every right to speak up when they feel disrespected in their own country. The Philippines is not a cheap backdrop for someone else's escape plan. The people there, the vendors, the landlords, the resort workers, they are running real lives on tight margins. And when visitors treat the country like it exists purely for their convenience, that's not tourism. That's exploitation. On the other hand, painting an entire nationality with one brush is dangerous. Israel has over 9 million people. The ones coming to the Philippines are a slice of that. And within that slice, there's a massive range of behavior, values, and intentions. Judging every Israeli visitor by the worst stories is the same kind of thinking that Filipinos themselves have fought against when working abroad and being stereotyped. So what's the real conversation here? It's about boundaries. It's about the Philippines deciding what kind of tourism and what kind of long-term visitors it wants to attract. It's about enforcing rules that protect locals, stronger rental contracts, clearer community standards in tourist areas, and yes, the ability to say, this behavior is not welcome here, without being called racist for it. Countries like Thailand and Bali have done this when they got tired of certain tourist behaviors, whether it was disrespecting temples, scamming locals in reverse, or just being generally disruptive. They pushed back. They made rules. They enforced them. The Philippines has been too polite for too long. And that politeness, that famous Filipino hospitality, is being mistaken by some visitors as a blank check. Now let me be clear about something before we wrap this up. This video is not about hating Israelis. It is not about dismissing a people who are going through a genuinely difficult time in their home country. War is real. Displacement is real. And humans moving towards safety and stability is one of the oldest stories in existence. But compassion for someone's situation does not mean your own people have no right to protect their space, their businesses, and their dignity. Filipino hospitality is a gift. It is one of the most beautiful things about that culture. But a gift given to someone who doesn't recognize its value stops being a gift and starts being taken for granted. The Philippines is watching right now. The local communities are talking. And the question being asked, quietly, politely, in the very Filipino way, is this: we welcome you, but do you respect us? Because that answer will determine whether this story ends well or gets a lot messier in the months ahead. If you're Filipino and you've had an experience, good or bad, with this wave of visitors, drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to hear both sides. And if you found this video worth watching, share it. Not to spread hate, but because real conversations like this deserve to be had out loud.